evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to CloudForceSky webinar. I'm thrilled to see all of you joining us today from a different part of the country and the world. So kindly, you can let us know where you're joining from so that we can be able to engage. My name is Janet Chesang, and I'll be hosting this webinar. So kindly, as we wait for the rest to join us, where are you joining us from? Where are you joining us from? You can just put it on the chat box so that we can be able to engage. Yes, James from Juja. Myself, I'm joining from Nairobi. Nairobi as well. Karibuni sana, everybody. Welcome to CloudForceSky webinar. Yes, Daniel is also joining from Juja. Watu wa Juja ni wingi, Juja Maker. Alvin joining from Kitale, karibu sana. Pauline from Dubai, but if you see me in Nairobi, just know we are in Dubai. I hope that is noted. Pauline is from Dubai. Kikuyu, Macreen from Kitale. Juja have it for the evening. Karibuni sana for the webinar. So without wasting a lot of time, today we have a very special treat in store for you. Our speaker today is an expert in AWS Cloud. And we are honored to have him with us. He brings with him a wealth of knowledge and experience, and I'm sure you're going to find it valuable. So before we dive into his presentation, let me quickly go over our housekeeping items. First, if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to submit them in the chat box. We'll do our best to address as many questions as possible. And we are going also to have a Q&A session after the speaker's presentation. Another thing is you're kindly requesting that you remain muted unless when asking a question. Now, without further ado, let's get started on today's presentation. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to our speaker of the day, James Juma Sindani. James Juma Sindani is a solutions architect with Silicon Overdrive, and he will take us through the path to becoming an AWS Solutions Architect. So Juma, if you're with us, karibu sana, you can have the floor to take us through the path of becoming a solutions architect. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Janet, for that introduction. And thank you, CloudForce, for hosting me. Now, kindly allow me to share my screen and let me know once you can see it. Just a moment. Awesome. It's coming up.
Yes, we can see your screen. You can proceed.
Nice. Thank you so much. Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, as you've heard, my name is James Juma Sindani, and I'm an AWS Solutions Architect at Silicon Overdrive. And on top of that, I'm also an AWS Community Builder, and this is my second year being an AWS Community Builder. I'm a co-founder and partnership manager at Resource Cloud Academy. Probably some of you have heard of Resource Cloud Academy. If not, worry not. Resource Cloud Academy, it's just a platform such as CloudForceSky that is made up of young tech enthusiasts who will wish to, either start or advance their career in cloud. So we do have our meetings where we engage our audience. So I'm there as a co-founder and also the partnership manager. But away from that, I'm also 4 times AWS certified. And the active certificate that I go right now include AWS Cloud Practitioner, AWS Solutions Architect, the Associate Certificate, AWS Developer Associate, and AWS SysOps Associate. Okay, so thank you so much for that. That is my introduction, and I'm going to talk about the pathway to becoming an AWS Solutions Architect. Now, you may notice that I'm using a tool that probably is not familiar to a lot of you guys, and bear with me, and I hope you're going to enjoy what I'm going to do. And as Janet has mentioned, in case of any question, in case of any clarification, kindly feel free to drop your question in the chat, and we can address it at the end of the session. Now, first things first, if you hear the word AWS Solutions Architect, what comes to your mind? What do you think an AWS Solutions Architect is? Now, to answer that, an AWS Solutions Architect, this is a professional who specializes in designing scalable, reliable, cost-effective, and secure solution on AWS Cloud. Now, the definition is for an AWS Solutions Architect. But if we remove the word AWS and remain with Solutions Architect, this is a professional who specifies in designing scalable, reliable, and cost-effective cloud solution on any cloud platforms. Probably you've heard of different cloud providers, the likes of AWS, Azure, Google, Oracle, and all of that. Now, a solutions architect is one who does what I've just mentioned, the four main one on security, of course, and others. But now, with this definition, I want us to have a look at two areas within our market. We have the local market and we have the international market. Now, the definition that I've given you, it for the international market, okay? A person who designs scalable, reliable, cost-effective, and secure solutions on AWS Cloud. That is the definition according to the international market. And what do I mean by international market? So international market, it's made up of, the tech giants that you know, the likes of AWS, Google, Oracle, and Azure. So if you happen to work with this, tech giant, your role as a solutions architect will be purely designing scalable, reliable, cost-effective, and secure, or generally the pillars of the well-architected framework. Okay, now that is for the international market. But now, when we have a look at the local market, and the local market, I mean Kenya and Africa at large, the definition is quite complex, not complex, but the definition is not the same as the international one. Now, with the local market, the expectation of a solutions architect will not be purely on designing this solution, but you need to design and at the same time implement the solution that you do design. Okay, so for the local market, the extent of this definition, goes to the cloud architect. Remember, there are different roles in cloud. We have solutions architect and we have cloud architect. So for the local market, there is a thin margin between a solutions architect and a cloud architect. So you are expected to design and implement solutions in cloud. Designing, it's like what I'm presenting right now. This is a design, and I'm using a tool called Draw.io that is designing. If it's the international market, your majority or major percentage of your work will be using these tools, designing 2-tier architectures, designing 3-tier architectures, designing microservices, and all that. But if you're in the local market, you need to be aware of these designing tools and skills, but on top of that, you need implementation skills, okay? Nice. Now that we got the definition of what an AWS Solutions Architect is. Let's now delve into the skills that are relevant in one becoming an AWS Solutions Architect. My presentation is tailored around AWS, okay? But generally, if we go to other cloud providers, what I'm saying, the skills and the soft and hard skills that I'm going to explain just about now are almost similar. It's just like it's just that for AWS, I'm being specific to the cloud provider. Now, moving onto the skills of an AWS Solutions Architect, I've classified these skills into two different categories. We have the soft skills and we have the tech skills, or you can refer to them as the hard skills. Okay, so you need to be aware of these skills and you need to practice these skills in order to be a successful solutions architect. Okay, so let's have a look at the first one, which is the soft skills. Now, just a few skills under this doctorate that you need to be well conversant is one, documentation skills. Remember, a solutions architect, you're going to design these solutions. And on top of that, if it's designing, you need to design to someone. Okay? Now, a solutions architect in the tech world, you act as a bridge. You're the bridge between the technology and the business side. On the business side, you have stakeholders, high profile people who need to understand on a high level what you're going to do. So you need to have a mechanism or a way of explaining this content to these stakeholders in a non-technical way that they can easily grasp and understand what you're talking about. Now, with that, you need to be well familiar with the documentation. Because remember, at the end of the day, you're going to design that solution. The design is going to have, the professional services that the engineering team will need in terms of implementation. On top of that, you need to present monthly cost of the cloud services that you're going to advise these stakeholders, to use. So you definitely need to know how to use platforms such as the Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint presentation. If you're in that meeting with a client, you'll definitely need a presentation to explain, to listen. First, you need to listen to their problem. And at the same time, you need to come up with a solution that is going to address this problem. So you need a platform you need to be able to use platforms, such as a PowerPoint presentation, Canvas, name them, that you need, to offer a clear presentation to the stakeholders. So that is the documentation part of it. Next, which is important, is leadership and communication skills. Remember, you're talking to stakeholders. You need to use a language that, they can easily understand. You need to connect with them before you get inside in that meeting with the client. You need to understand, what is the emotional level, what tone should you use in your presentation. So on top of that, you'll definitely need some leadership skill to understand this. Next, we have problem solving. Now, imagine yourself, you are in a meeting with a customer. The customer is explaining their main pain points and they're looking up to you to offer a solution. If, you don't have problem solving skills, you'll definitely end up not giving these solutions. Okay? So, yeah, this is soft skills that is equally important to possess in terms of solving the problem that is at hand rather. Then emotional intelligence. Remember, you're going to deal with people, and people got different types of personalities. You need to be aware of these personalities, and you need to present yourself in such a way that you are not affected by their personality. You can get into a meeting with a client, maybe who is having a rough day. You'll be asking questions, and they'll be, from your understanding, you feel like they don't want to talk to you. At this point, are you going to break up? The answer is no. You should not break up. So you should master your emotions. And that will definitely require some emotional intelligence. And then you need to be a team player. Remember, you're not going to work alone. You'll have diverse colleagues with different background, with different personalities. So you need to blend in, and you need to be a team player. And most importantly, equally important, rather, it's time management. Now, when you get, a customer, you'll definitely have a conversation around time. Maybe they want to do the migration in 2 months, maybe a week, maybe 3 months. Definitely, you need to manage your time well. So these are not all, but some of the important soft skills that you need to have in order for you to be a solutions architect. These are just some few of the soft skills that you require. Now, in terms of the tools that you can use for documentation, I've mentioned MS Word, I mentioned Excel, I mentioned PowerPoint. Yeah. Now, in terms of leadership and communication, problem solving, emotional intelligence, and being a team player and time management, there's one platform that I'm going to recommend you guys to have a look at. It's the Toastmasters International. Toastmasters International, this is a platform that enables you to build your leadership and communication skills. When you join this platform, you're going to be presented with different levels of communication, let's call different levels of communication skills that you need to partake, all the way from the first level to the topmost level. Now, many a time we tend to imagine that, communication is something inborn, being fluent in a language, it's something inborn, but this is something you have to learn just like any other skill, okay? No matter your background, if you really want to be conversant in any language, you need to learn and practice it. And Toastmasters will give you a platform of practicing and learning, these communication skills. And in terms of time management, it's also covered in Toastmasters. You're being presented by maybe a speech that you need to deliver in 7 minutes. So that's part of time management. Emotional intelligence, team player, you'll be given a project that you need to collaborate with other people. So yeah, that is just one of the many platforms that we have that can help you in these soft skills that I've just mentioned. Toastmasters, or just being in a community that enhance effective communication. Make sure to work on these soft skills, especially if you want to have a successful career in being an AWS Solutions Architect. Because remember, you're acting as a bridge between the business and technology. You need to communicate. Now, those are the soft skills. How about the hard skills, or what I've called tech skills? For an AWS Solutions Architect, one skill that you definitely need to master is designing, because that, in terms of KPIs, that is your main KPI that you're going to have as a solutions architect, no matter the market, local or international. You need to have designing skills. The second one, in terms of the international of the local market, you need to know implementation. Okay? You need to know designing, but at the same time, whatever you're designing, the services that you're going to use, you need to know how they integrate and how you're going to implement that. The third skill, it's around scripting, the likes of, YAML and JSON. you need to be familiar with the scripting languages, especially in the local market. Linux programming follow suit. And remember, all these hard skills, we are talking of practicing them in AWS Cloud. Now, I've just given a list of some, I call them tools that you can use to enhance these hard skills. In terms of designing, there's Draw.io, which I'm currently using. It's a nice platform for you to practice with. It's an open platform. You don't have to pay for any subscription. And all you need is practice, practice, and practice. When I started my career, I was kind of afraid of this tool. In my imagination, I didn't think of a point where I could, design this solution. I can listen to someone and interpret, the problem by designing a solution on a platform such as Draw.io. But what it takes is practice, and a lot of practice. So if you want to be, great in this field, kindly make Draw.io your friend. And away from that, we also have Visual Paradigm. Visual Paradigm, it's kind of similar to Draw.io, but for this, you need to have a subscription, or rather you need to pay for subscription, Then we have Canvas. So these are just some of the tools or platform you can use to enhance your designing skills. Implementation, we definitely have AWS Management Console, because that is where you're going to find these AWS services. You're going to, experiment, practice with them up to the point you are, good and well conversant with the implementation of the services. Scripting, you need to learn different levels of let's call them programs. We have Terraform. Terraform is quite essential when it comes to scripting. Terraform, it's an infrastructure as code. You are managing your infrastructure using code. Imagine having the capability of writing a few sentences of code, and at the background of it all, it gives you the environment that you want. It's amazing. So for scripting, you need to learn Terraform, you need to learn Kubernetes, you need to learn Ansible, and many others. For AWS, we have CloudFormation, which is quite important when it comes to scripting for the AWS native services. There are many. We have Chef, we have Puppet. The list is endless. For Linux, of course, we have command line interface, CLI, and Amazon CLI. For programming, I'll advise you to be, to learn Python. But now, listen, for an AWS Solutions Architect, the main skills that you need to have, especially in the international market, if you're going to land, a job in the international market, it's not necessarily the tech giants that I've mentioned. There are some, companies, especially away from Africa, that have similar job description as the tech giants. So if you're going to land a job in the international market, the main skills that, you need to have are designing and, of course, some sort of implementation, because how are you going to, advise a customer or rather a client to go with a service that you've not implemented before? You need to know how the service works in order for you to even cost for that service, because remember, it's not free using the cloud. The cloud is, I don't want to call it expensive, but you need to be aware of your cost. So, for you to be successful in this career, you definitely need implementation skills. But now for international market, soft skills are very important. Being a team player, time management, emotional intelligence, problem solving, leadership and communication, and knowing how to document, equally important for the international market. For the local market, in order to be ahead of the competition, you need to learn all the skills. Okay, you need to somehow understand a programming language. The most common, Python. Linux, you need to understand it. You need to know how to script a YAML and JSON. JSON is the most common. Definitely, you need to learn Terraform, Kubernetes, and many others. Now, at this point, if you're a DevOps professional, you're kind of confused. Why am I mentioning DevOps tools in an AWS Solutions Architect role? But now, the thing is, in the local market, as I mentioned, there's a thin line between, these different career fields. You can apply for a job to be a solutions architect, but in the job description, they want you to, know some bit of DevOps tools. So to be on the safe side, it's important to learn all these skills. Okay. So those are the hard skills and the soft skills that a solutions architect need to possess. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at the core of our business lies the AWS cloud. That is the main reason why we are in this talk. Now, let's have a look at some of the, different areas that you need to be aware when it comes to the cloud. Okay? These are just different, cloud is intense. Cloud got a lot of services, and these services are put in different categories. Now, with AWS or with any cloud, these are just some of the few categories that you need to be aware of. The first one and the most important is networking part. We have computing in AWS. If you're aware, we do have EC2, Forget, name them. In terms of storage, we do have EBS, which stands for Elastic Block Storage. In terms of file management, we have EFS, we have FSX for Windows workloads and all that. Monitoring, we have CloudWatch. Compliance, we do have config, we do have CloudTrails and all that. Then finally, identity and access management, which is equally important because you don't want everyone to have access to your platform, right? So you need to learn the services that will enable, authenticated and authorized users to access your platform. So these are just fields that I thought of, but there are many different fields when it comes to the cloud. Any cloud will have, many fields, and any cloud will have the networking part, will have computing, storage, monitoring, and all that. Now, why did I say networking is the most important part? Now, I want you to listen and listen very carefully. When you're talking about a cloud, what is a cloud? A cloud is basically a data center that is located far away from your position right now that you do have access to. Keyword access. Remember, it's a data center, just like the local data centers that we do have. Safaricom got its data center. We have a local data center for East Africa. Now, to access it, we need networks. You need to connect, you need to find a mechanism of connecting to that data center. The nearest in Africa is in South Africa. Okay? So you need to have a mechanism of sending your connection from Nairobi, Kenya, East Africa, all the way to South Africa. Now, to have a basic and foundation understanding of networking, or rather the cloud, you need to know the networking concept of it. And believe me, I've interacted with my colleagues, I've interacted with learners, and the most challenging part of the cloud is this networking part. But now, if you're a starter, to make your work easier, there's a certificate called Cisco Certified Network Administrator. This certificate or the content that you'll be taught inside, Cisco in terms of being a network administrator, it's purely gold when it comes to understanding the networking part of it. Now, I'm talking of CCNA, which is not an AWS service, which is not an AWS certificate, but I'm telling you it's important because at the basic of all data centers, at the basic of all cloud providers lie networking. And networking is the same. Networking in AWS is the same as networking in Azure. You just, name your services differently. Okay. So you need to be aware of networking part of it. And my advice is if you've not started, run for this, certificate, CCNA. It will help you understand a lot of concepts in cloud. Okay. Learn the OSI model, learn the TCP IP model, learn the 7 layers, learn the protocols. If you talk of HTTP, what does it mean? What does it do? What are the ports that, are designated for HTTP? These are standards that are worldly or globally recognized. Okay? So you need to be aware of this information for you to understand what you're going to deal with in terms of our cloud. Now, it's not a cheap certificate, but I promise you it's worth it. After you're done with CCNA, so we've talked about the different areas that you need to be aware. Now let's delve into some sort of certificate that you need to do. Now, I've advised CCNA as a prerequisite, but it's not a must. It's just an important certificate to have if you really want to, have a basic understanding of what cloud is. Okay. But now, if you really want to start your journey directly in cloud, you can start, especially now. Remember, you're talking about AWS. We have different levels of certificate. I don't know if this is not the spelling of foundational. Okay. Now, for foundational certificate, we have AWS Cloud Practitioner. So this is the basic certificate for cloud that will just, explain to you what cloud is, what AWS cloud is, and different services under these categories and some sort of other categories that I've not mentioned in this presentation. So that's the foundation level. Then the next level, we have the AWS Solutions Architect, the associate level. Okay. This is just, they will dive deep into the content that you are taught in the cloud practitioner and understanding it into details, how to implement, what other services are associated with that service that you're learning. So that is the associate. Then SysOps, majorly for administrators, but it's equally an important certificate to have. We have AWS developer if you want to be a cloud architect. Remember, as I started, I told you there's a difference between a solutions architect and a cloud architect according to the two markets. So if you want to be a cloud architect, someone who can design and implement at the international level, AWS developer is a great certificate to have. Now, if you want to rise through ranks, when you're on your job, you're already having, you've landed yourself that job of being an AWS Solutions Architect, I'll advise you to do the professional level because this will, it dives deep. It gives you extensive information and all you need to be aware of in this AWS Solutions Architect role. So these are just a few AWS certificates that you can have a look at when it comes to the role of being a solutions architect. But remember, certificates are never enough. Okay. But now, before we get to that level, let's just mention a few learning platforms and a few organizations that will enable you to, learn this certificate. For the learning platform, there are a lot of them. Here, I've just highlighted a few. We have AWS Skill Builders. AWS Skill Builder. We have AWS Educate. We have Digital Cloud. I think it belongs to Davis Neal. We have Udemy, Stefan Merrick. We have a cloud guru, the likes of Fei and all that. We have WizLab. We have Cloud Academy. So these are just a few guided platforms that you can use to, learn the content of these certificates. Now, right now we are in a modern era of technology, meaning we got a lot of information on the internet. But remember, you need to be careful with this information. And I'll advise you to use a structured platform like the likes that I've just mentioned. Because, if right now you go ahead and search compute or search EC2, you'll have a lot of resources under compute. And if you don't use a structural way, you will not understand what are the basic, information that you need to pass a certificate. So these platforms, they have, structured their material, their learning material in line to what is expected in the certificate. So I highly recommend to use a structured approach. So Skill Builder, it's free. AWS Educate is free, but Digital Cloud, Udemy, a Cloud Guru, WizLab, Cloud Academy. Okay, these 4 you need to pay for subscription. My advice, look for people who got similar, goals, and you can, cost share among yourself. You purchase a platform, learn the content, but at the end of the day, you need to get money to sit for this certificate. Cloud Practitioner goes at, is it 150? Yeah. Is it 150? Yes, the 150 US dollars, same to Solutions Architect, SysOps, and Developer. And the good news is that if you do the first certificate with the same email, with the same account, you get a 50% off for the subsequent certificate. So instead of paying 150 for Solutions Architect, and remember I'm talking in terms of US dollars, you're going to pay 75, which is around 8,500 Kenyan shillings. So yeah, but now these are Cloud Academy. If you are an AWS community builder, you'll be given subscription for Cloud Academy and access it for free. Now, we also have local platforms that offer chance for you to do these certificates. I'll mention Azubi Africa, Ajira, the Restart program. I've seen Felix is around. He used to be my teacher, and it was great learning this certificate through a platform like Ajira, a platform like Azubi. And this is why, remember, with these platforms, you are going to have individuals with common goals in projection as yourself. You're going to challenge, yourselves, and you're going to network with these guys. You're going to learn communication skills. You're going to be you're going to be put in groups for you to do presentation. Now, when I talk of soft skills, you're going to learn them using this platform, because remember, in a team, you need to be a team player. In a team, you need to, have problem-solving skills, leadership and communication. Now, with this platform, they give you a chance to learn all these soft skills. But away from that, these platforms got projects that you can handle, projects that you can present in cases of interviews if you don't have experience. So I highly advise. And the goodness is that as Ajira, the Restart program, it's absolutely free. All you need is to watch out for, the openings, apply, you'll do an interview, you'll do a presentation, and if you qualify, you will get into this program. It's a 12 weeks program, and it's the best thing that happened in my career life. So watch out for that. We have Moringa schools, we have LX. LX is also free. or the cloud practitioner. So you just watch out for the openings and, don't hesitate applying for them, because at the end, they are definitely worth it. So remember, as you study for this certificate, it's important for you to get certified. Whatever the case, it's not fair to go through all this struggle learning the certificates, but you don't have a way of showcasing what you've learned. The first point of showcasing what you know, what you've learned, it's the certificate. The second point is the skills. Remember, if it's a job description, there's a part that they'll tell you need to have an AWS Solutions Architect certificate, maybe, advantage to have, and they mention other certificates. So, yeah, you need to get certified the first point, but away from that, you also need to work on projects. I'm addressing people who want to, land themselves a job and they don't have any experience. Project is your savior. Work on projects. And remember, there's a difference between projects and labs. A lab can be, spinning up an EC2 instance, but a project can be building up a two-tier architecture or implementing a two-tier architecture. A two-tier architecture, we have the web and app, which are EC2 instances, and we have the data layer, which is a database. And you need to know how these services integrate. So that's a project. And this project, remember, you need to be aware of real-world problems and structure your projects in a similar way. And to help you with that, kindly liaise with this platform. CloudForceSky's Resource Cloud Academy, we do have projects ongoing. So take part in those projects, because, when it comes to the interview, if you don't have the experience, the only way you're going to showcase what you've done is by projects. But now, when you're doing this project, you also need to, document what you're learning. And documentation, you can write a document, a Word document, you can do blogs on LinkedIn, you can do LinkedIn posts. Okay? So remember, don't just work on projects and leave it at that point. You need to showcase, you need to show the world what you're working on. The only way I'm going to know that you've worked on a project is for you to document it. Mention that I've worked on this project. The problem was this. We implemented using these tools and the final product was this. Okay? That's the only way I'm going to know that you've worked on a project. So, and with that, we come to an area of personal branding. This is also a skill that I believe it's lacking, especially in the IT industry. I promise you there are a lot of people with skills, with great skills when it comes to IT. But now, when it comes to the showcasing of these skills, it's a problem, it's a challenge. So work on your personal brand. And personal brand, I mean, build a name for yourself. Have that LinkedIn profile that you post your documents, your blogs, your LinkedIn post, and network. Be it Twitter, Instagram, whatever, WhatsApp, all the platform that will enable you to have a global audience. Make use of it and mind the content that you're going to, post on this platform, because you're creating a name for yourself. And remember, the media does not forget. So it's equally important to be aware of that while you're building your personal brand. But on top of that, network. Because remember, your network is your net worth. Okay? You're not going to land a job far away. It's your friend who is going to recommend you for that job. So if you don't know me, I won't be in a position to recommend you for a job opening. If you don't know Felix, if you don't know anyone, you're not in a position to land yourself that job. But if you network and know as many people as you can, you stand a chance of being recommended to these jobs. Because remember, right now, I don't know if you've heard or seen scenarios where someone is just posting, I started a new position, but you never saw, that job, description, that job post. Because what's happening right now, we have technical recruiters. Companies do reach out to technical recruiters. Companies no longer post, these openings via, okay, I'm talking of not all companies, definitely, but some of the companies, definitely, they do post their job openings. Other companies, they use technical recruiters. So the technical recruiter will reach out to individuals, look at the qualified individuals and recommend those individuals to the company. That's why you won't hear this information. So the best way, of putting yourself out there is through networks. Network. If it comes to LinkedIn, connect to as many professional people in the industry as possible. That way you'll, stand a high chance of getting this job. Then definitely you need to hunt for jobs. All this while, all this journey that you've gone through, is the end product of it all is getting yourself a job. So, spare that energy and dedicate it to hunting jobs. There are different platforms that you can use to get remote jobs, and also knowing people will enable you to land a local or even international job. So hunt for these jobs. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I come to the conclusion of my presentation. I've been talking for quite a while now. Thank you so much for listening to me. And at this point, I will take it back to Janet for question sessions. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Juma, for that informative, engaging presentation. Your insights have been truly enlightening. And I want to believe that our attendees, you have been enlightened. You can just share the same with our presenter. Just let the presenter know in the chat box how the presentation was. And with that, I would like to open the Q&A session. And I'm going to start with the questions that have been posted on the chat box. And in the same time, you can just raise your hand if you want to unmute and direct the question to Juma. So I'll just start by the question by Mina Joseph. And Mina Joseph is asking, how is the job market? James?
Nice. Maina, thank you so much for that question. Now, how is the job market? To answer you, I'll tell you, if you have a look at LinkedIn right now, there are a lot of, jobs being posted. So be it the situation, of course, right now we are kind of in sort of a global crisis, where business are slowing down and all that. But away from that, we still have, job opening, meaning, a fraction of the industry of the market is, still on. So to be on the safe side, work on your skills, work on, your connection, work on your network, and put yourself in a position where no matter the situation that you are currently facing, you can land yourself a job. But to be honest, the job market right now, it's not that good, but also remember, people are winning, people are getting jobs. So it's just a matter of how you position yourself.
Okay, thank you, Maina. I hope you've been answered. We also have another question from Timothy Washira. You're talking about AWS courses on the Udemy platform. Which vendor or technical trainer do you recommend on Udemy? I'm sure there are so many people selling AWS courses on Udemy. Yeah, back to you.
Okay, Timothy, I did mention of, I think it's called Stephen Merrick. He's a great trainer. I've personally, gotten a chance to view his content, learn his content, and he has enabled me to, grasp the knowledge and also the requirement of the certificates that I was pursuing, and I passed those courses. So, yeah, we have different vendors, we have different technical trainers, but I would recommend that one person when it comes to Udemy. But now remember, with the platform, for you to be a technical trainer, there's, some sort of training that you have to undergo. So I recommend you, no matter the trainer that you are using, it's a matter of personal preference. But what I'm advising against is for you to use, platforms such as YouTube to, learn this content, because with YouTube, you won't have that structural approach of, getting this information. I hope that answers you, Timothy.
Okay, so I want to believe that Timothy, you have been answered, as well as Mina. I don't know if you have any more questions. Feel free, you can just post it. Yes, we have a question from Kevin. So Kevin, you can just unmute and ask your question.
Thank you, Janet and James. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you so much. What a nice presentation, James. I really learned a lot. As always, I always learn a lot from you. And as I promised, I said I'd come and ask you questions. So, my question is, if you would start your solutions architect or your cloud career journey all over again, what would you do differently, or what have you learned that you would say that these are the pitfalls you need to look out for so that you have it better?
Nice, Kevin. That is a great question. If I was to redo my journey and start afresh, one thing that I will do differently is I will start by, one, learning a programming language. And two, I will focus more on doing projects and labs rather than content, the theory part of it. Because remember, you will struggle a lot if you're a solutions architect and you don't know how to implement, you don't know any programming language, you don't know any scripting language. So, yeah, I think the three basic things that you need to do: focus on knowing a programming language, very important. But on top of that, master your skills in terms of projects and labs. But maybe just to add on, what I want is having the networking concept. I did my CCNA before embarking my cloud journey, which was amazing, which is still amazing. So I will highly recommend you guys to have a look at the networking part. Not necessarily CCNA, we have CompTIA and other, providers. So just make sure you understand the networks, the basic networks, before you delve into cloud. Thank you so much for that question, Kevin.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. So I think we'll have one last one from Chege. And he says that you had spoken about documentation. Do you have people we can follow who document so that we can learn from them?
That's a nice question. I will advise you to, have a look at LinkedIn. There's this guy, he got a hard name, Ankit someone. Ankit, he does amazing, projects and document them. I don't know the second name. Can someone product that they have developed? Let me just see if I can get the name right. Yeah, but there are a lot of people that you can follow on LinkedIn that have great blogs, and they have documented their work in a way that even if you are someone starting in cloud, you can easily look at it. But on top of that, right now we are in a digital era. If you search for this information on the internet, if you search, for blogs related to AWS, you will definitely get a lot of useful resources. So yeah, you just watch out for that.
Okay, thank you. I think Timothy has just put the name out there and says that that was a wonderful presentation. You can please share the Draw.io design. So I don't know how you'll respond to that. But we've come to the end of this webinar. And once again, I'd like to thank you, Juma, we appreciate the depth of knowledge and expertise that you have just shared. To our attendees, I wish to extend our gratitude to all of you for your attendance and participation. Your engagement is what makes these webinars valuable. And before I just conclude, I'd like to also mention that the recording will be available on our YouTube channel, that is CloudForceSky. And also you can follow us on LinkedIn to stay informed on our upcoming webinars at CloudForceSky. So thank you so much and have a good night.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. The name, Kevin has mentioned the name of the guy that was mentioned, that I've just mentioned. Kindly have a look at his amazing work on LinkedIn. Thank you for your time. I wish you a great evening. Good night.
Good night, everyone. See you.